Hi, I'm doing a quick review on a K&N intake for the 5.8 liter 351 Windsor engine. I'll give you the good and the bad. The good is it looks nice, it's not too hard to install, and if you install it properly, it should add power over stock intake. And the bad news is this. Number one, you have to modify it, otherwise it will restrict horsepower. Number two, it's probably no better than the dual filter air intake I was running. And number three is when you spend $200 or $250, whatever you get it for, you should not have to do anything special with it. Okay, the modifications involved on this are on the twin intakes here on the outlet of the K&N intake. Using the molding that they have, the walls are extremely thick, meaning the ID is actually substantially smaller than the ID on your throttle body. So naturally this would cause a choke point. So what you have to do in order to match the intakes is bore this out to match the intake on the throttle body so it does not restrict horsepower. What I did is this. First I used a grinding wheel on a die cutter. I made it to 2 and I believe 1/8 inches. That's the same size as throttle body. And I got a pilot hole started with a vertical motion like this going into the intake just to start a little pilot hole on each one. Then I got a 2 1/8 inch hole saw, which will work on a drill, and I very carefully drilled a hole down each intake. Now, no matter how carefully you do this, it's going to be hard. And in fact, as you can see, I ended up coming out here, and on the bottom, I came out on the bottom too with the hole saw, which was very annoying, but nonetheless, it was completely fixable and necessary to get this intake working properly. So after I got it bored out properly and trimmed it up, I put the hole saw back in, used it as a surface. Then I quick steeled over it and let it set. Now when you quick steel over it, make sure you put something on the hole saw, like water or a very, very little bit of oil, so the quick steel doesn't stick to the hole saw. So after the quick steel sets, you pull the hole saw out, and then you got a patch. I did that on both the top and the bottom. And for further protection, I also JB welded over it. And on the inside, I quick steeled and JB welded and made it flush. And then after I got the patching done, I used sandpaper on the inside to get it as smooth as possible. And you can use other methods as well, because the hole saw will make a very rough surface on the inside. But I forget exactly what these were before I did that, but I believe in spots they're as small as 1.5 inches compared to 2 1/8 inches. So for a performance intake, that you would think K&N would be smart enough to know a choke point's gonna rob horsepower. But nonetheless, after you do that, the intake looks very nice and way better than stock or the dual air filters. It's worth buying, in my mind, if you're not afraid to do this, because if you don't do this, you're going to lose power and it's pointless to even put it on. But I bought it for 2 reasons. I like it, the way it looks. And then number two, I want to run nitrous eventually and methanol injection. And I wanted to run from a single point instead of tapping into the throttle body and running dual jets, dual nozzle I should say, nitrous, because for one, it's more expensive, and for two, I don't like the fact the throttle body is so close to the plenum, and I would think it wouldn't have enough chance to mix with the air properly. So I would think by putting it back a little farther, using a single nozzle system, the air, nitrous, and gas would mix better by the time it reaches each cylinder. So those are my thoughts on this intake, and like I said, it's worth buying and it's worth putting on. And a quick note, probably, like I said, probably if there is a horsepower gain over the dual filter air intake, it's nominal and not noticeable. But if you were to move from stock to this and perform the modification, it would be a noticeable horsepower difference. And yeah, one more con I should say before I go, is the fact that since this is a composite and the dual filter air intake has metal tubes, is significantly quieter than the dual air filter intake, and probably maybe a little bit loud. Well, it's going to be louder in stock, but it's quieter than the dual air filter intake. Alright, good luck with your project.